Hello and welcome. This is Enlightened Connections, a space where unseen threads are illuminated between people and spirit, between animals and their humans, and between the everyday and the extraordinary. I'm your host, Lisa Aston Michael, medium, healer, and animal communicator. And I invite you each week to join me as I share conversations and practices that bring light, healing, and connection into your world. Today, I am honoured to welcome Sandra Mendelson. Sandra is a channel of animal consciousness. She's an animal communicator, author, and teacher whose work is dedicated to deepening the relationship between humans and the animals who walk beside them. And as a channel, Sandra, you have connected with the wisdom of more than 100 species, offering a rare window into the depth, intelligence, and spiritual awareness of the animal kingdom. You share these messages widely through your social platforms and in your books. We Walk Beside You, books 1 and 2. The Secrets of Animals, books 1 and 2. And as a contributing author to Horse, Soulful Stories of Equine Healing, Grace, and Companionship. Your work is a powerful reminder that animals are not only companions, they're our teachers, our mirrors, and our guides in our own soul evolution. So welcome to you, Sandra Mendelson.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a delight to be able to see you again.
It's been a long time that I have been following your work, but I never had the opportunity to ask you how you first stepped into this work. How did you first encounter your connection and communication with animals?
I'm beginning to think over time that the reason this happened is so that people could relate and realize we can start accessing these abilities at any point in our lives. I never heard animals as a child. I hear these stories about some animal communicators that knew this and had imaginary friends and talked to every animal, and I was not that child. I had a very traditional upbringing, and I guess when the universe has a plan for you, it dumps in your lap or falls on your head. And so I was, oh my goodness, it was 2012. And I had gotten certified to do light therapy work on horses because I just wanted to be near them. I rode a couple of times in my life. I was surrounded by 65 barns. So I had been working with nutrition and light therapy, and I got certified to work on horses. And one very cold winter, when the very first thing I heard, actually, I was working on a horse's injured foot. And I hear this deep voice boom in my head. This hay is crap. And I'm on the ground trying not to fall into a pile of horse poo. And I look up at him and I notice he's slinging the hay off the top of the pile and trying to go underneath. About 5 minutes later, one of the horse moms came in and said, "There's mold all over the hay." So it started like that, very unceremoniously and unspiritually. And then a few weeks later, at a barn down the road, I think that's when I was just cracked wide open because this was a long time ago. There's been a whole lot of awakening, especially to horses in the interim. And I was putting away my equipment and I hear, "Why are you wasting your time with all this equipment? Why don't you just run energy? The horses are waiting for you." Okay. And I heard, when the barn closes at 4:00, we can drop the facade and be our true selves. We hear the birds speak, the plants speak, everything speaks. Now I have a series of leave the barn, come back, probably made it up. Horses are always sending love to humans. You just don't know it. And I thought in my head, where do they get the energy from? And I heard, we leave our bodies to connect with all that is because our frequency gets lower being in the body. Can all horses do this? Pretty much, but we find it more difficult when our human is going through a rough time. Okay, I'm convinced I made this up. Back to the barn, head down, tail between my legs. Oh, yeah. One other thing he did. I was sitting outside his stall in a meditation position, and I felt electricity in my hands, unlike any energy I ever felt. And I heard, "Did you feel that? I sent that to you. This is what we do. We heal with our bodies and talk with our minds." So after I'm convinced I made it up and I came back, he headbutted me all the way out of his stall into the aisle. And I hear, "You bought into the illusion again. We need you. I've decided I like you, and I'm going to take you under my wing and rescue you from humanhood. I'm tired of I'm tired of the way things are, and I know you are too, and you're going to help change them." That was it. Then I would hear voices like, "You said you would help me." It was like a curse because if a human didn't hire me, I couldn't do any light therapy on their horse. So I went into 3 years of, I made it up. You want to talk about a doubting Thomas? 3 years. And when I came down to Florida, I'll never forget, it was September 28th of 2015. Every horse in that one barn began to talk in turn, and my hand just kept writing, and it blew the top of my head off because I knew this was way beyond me. This was not, I wasn't really spiritually focused, a little bit of meditation, but what I heard was way beyond what I could comprehend. And my mom was great. She's, "Relax, that's not you. You're smart, but you're not that wise. You're funny, but you're not that funny." Which was helpful because my mother knew me so well that she knew I couldn't be making this up. If you were to ask me to write a fiction story, I would just sit there to this day and stare at the wall. I can't. So that the horses pushed me. They would say, "Ask pointed questions, put them down on paper." So first I asked questions of the horses, and then one of the horses said, "This is where your telepathic abilities come in. You can tune into anyone from anywhere." I'm like, "I can't do that." But again, I sat on the floor of my apartment. I was not driving the bus on this. And a blue whale and a water buffalo, a Cape buffalo to be specific, and a sacred cow, clearly like in a city like Mumbai, came through. And that's when I realized something was in motion and I was on a conveyor belt. Just go.
Wow.
So it was a really extraordinary time. I asked every question I could think of, asked my friends for questions. And it was great because I was wide open. I had no expectations. I had nothing to prove. I never read any animal communicator's work because I knew how influenced I could be. And I think I got it wrong. So I never read anybody's anything. It was between me and me. And by the time I would hold a question and I would see an animal behind my eyes and start writing, like a skunk or a camel or whatever. And by the time 53 species had come through, I thought, maybe if I think this is unusual, maybe somebody else would too. And that's when I decided to turn it into a book. Because I always wanted to be a writer, but I never thought I had anything interesting enough to say. Well, like, that's been said before, and that's been said before, but this was like, okay, you have my attention. So that's how it began.
I love that I love that you say that you didn't really follow up or take too much creed in other animal communicators, because I think what's happened here is that by doing that, by being the Lone Ranger, you've become the receiver. You've just inadvertently become the receiver. And so many people try and force it. Here's a checklist of things. Here's a checklist, and we got to go through A, B, C, D. And what they're actually doing, I think, you're the expert, but I think that's a block. You're forcing this on the animals. And instead of just sitting there being a sponge and going, okay, I'm the receiver, you just let it flow. And you had no expectations, as you say. So there were no blocks. You were just an open receiver, and you still are. And I absolutely, your books are incredible. I'm just in awe of the work that you do. And so what you're saying is you're clairaudient. You hear the animals. You hear the voices. You hear what they have to say.
Right now, it took me until this year to start. No, a year ago, I taught a workshop in the Czech Republic. The people wanted me to do online classes. And I kept saying, you know what? This is not the Sandy show. So I started asking the animals. For 2 years, I was asking them, what do humans really need to do to get out of their own way? Not just me, but all of us, and really connect with you. So when I finally put together the classes, it was a collaboration with the animals, not the human way. I always start the classes why animal insights are so valuable to us. I could just, first of all, they are not subject to the influence of all the things we are from institutions, law, medicine, education, the media that tell us who we are, who we're not, who we need to be, what to believe, what is happening, and what isn't, and so on. They don't believe in God or the all or the great gardener or the source of all. They know. They have not been stuck in the confines, if you will, or the prison of the mind.
Mm.
They are not, oh my God, there's so many, 13 reasons that they're not slave to time. They know different times of the day, but they're not.
They're always in the present, aren't they? They're always in the present.
They know their worth. They are taught their worth and self-love from birth. Humans really struggle with that. There's no such thing as revulsion in their world. There's so many things that have been bred into us, disgust and hatred or fear of certain species, for example. They respond in the moment if they're a threat, if they're being threatened, but there's no such thing as revulsion towards a form or an energy in their world. I've had grasshoppers tell me that. And there's many more reasons that for some reason I can't access in my brain right now, but that's what happens when so much information comes through and you're sharing it as it comes through. And then someone 10 years down the line goes, okay, what's the story? You're like, how do I get 40,000 gallons of chicken soup into one tiny little bouillon cube?
I know. It's not an easy thing.
The thing about our being able to access these gifts that we all have, I really discovered this after teaching the 4 classes, and people are like, I'm learning slowly. There's so many blocks that we have, belief blocks, behavioral blocks that push us outside the animal world. So the first class is what's getting in our way. And we're taught to be the alpha male. We're taught to be terrified of this. Oh, this kind of greed does that. And I don't want to know what my dog has to say. It'll be something bad. Or I don't like spiders and I won't hear them anyway. Belief after belief, behavior after behavior. You can't know where you're going if you don't know where you are. And then the second class is really about reframing. Like, what behaviors draw you into their world? How can you look at one of their behaviors and go, maybe it's not for their own purposes. Maybe they are doing it for me or in response to me, what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. Flipping it is fascinating. I love doing that class because everybody thinks that animals are like people. They're not. It's not self-serving behavior. One of my favorite things is, well, my horse is really mouthy and he only wants treats. I said, okay, did your horse ever take off your hat? Oh, yeah, all the time. He's always trying to undress me and take off my clothes. I said, let me just share something with you. They are energy beings. When they take off your hat, they are freeing up your crown. When they unzip your jacket, they are freeing up your heart chakra and your power center, your solar plexus. When they take off your belt, which a lot of them do, women think it's hilarious. They're doing a striptease. That's to open your second chakra. And my favorite one, my horse turns his back on me. Instead of his ears pinned, oh no, he's just snooty. When he turns his back on you, he's actually working on your root chakra because we humans are in our head so much and we are not grounded.
I'm having a little giggle about that because my mare does that. She did exactly that. She'd spot me coming along the path of it towards her, and some days she would just walk up to me and say, "Hey, this is a great day. I feel good. You feel good. Let's go for a little ride." And I'd go bareback on her 9 out of 10 times anyway, just for a potch about. But sometimes I would turn up and she would, boom, swing her bum around at me, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, I need to really check in with myself here. What's going on here? What's happened in my life? What's my energy doing? What have I brought to her? So they're absolutely fascinating. Horses are fascinating in terms of the sensitivity that they have towards us.
And they're going like this, right? We think they're nipping at us. And I've had Jono, this one horse, saying, we're not being sassy or irritable, but few of you know this. We see so much beauty in you that we find it almost funny that all this junk is covering you. And so we push you, we shove you, we try to nip out the junk. Thought forms, things that they can see in our field, whether we created them or picked them up, doesn't matter. So when you're always think energy first rather than mouthy, nasty horse, especially if their ears are not pinned. And we misread them and most animals all the time. Again, because we project human behaviors and beliefs onto them.
That makes perfect sense.
So I'm learning on an ongoing basis. It never stops.
I'll share a funny experience. A friend of mine was a craniosacral therapist for horses, and I was in my very early days of being a Reiki practitioner. So I asked if I could come along and offer Reiki to the horse while she was working. And so we're standing in this paddock and I'm doing my thing, and I had this weird feeling, and I turned. There were 17 horses standing behind me, just with their head hung like that, just sitting in the energy, having the most fabulous time. Well, I just went, oh my God, I got the biggest fright of my life, turning around and there they all were. And this is the very early days, of course. This was like 14 years ago. And I got the strangest feeling at that time that they were all just immersed, and not only immersed in the energy, but they were giving this healing. They were offering this healing as well. And it was so strong. And it felt like I was being washed in this.
You were one of them.
Yes, it was really beautiful.
What the energy to this horse, the way they sent energy. How beautiful. What a wonderful validation.
Oh, it's lovely.
What you discover when you it can happen at any time, where as I love what I'm seeing of the people in my class where they're getting these ahas, they start to notice once they declare themselves an opening. I am an opening to communicate with you. Animals start showing up boom, in your path, like a feral cat that would run away, that kind of thing. Or they start seeing animals behind their eyes. Crows are really good with newcomers. When I started channeling, crows were everywhere. They followed me. Not now. But one of my students said she was really nervous about a presentation. Her husband showed up and said, there's 19 crows on the roof. And so they're realizing that animals will show up for you at any time in your life when you are ready.
And not necessarily physically either. As you say, they can show up in dreams.
Exactly. And people want the hard and fast. They want to say, if Ted Andrews said this animal totem means this and this means that, we want, and he does incredible work. What I say to people is, what's going on in your life when an animal showed up? For example, birds have told me, I love this one, because people don't imagine that wild birds could possibly know something about you that's out of balance in your life. So a woman came to me and she was getting dive bombed by birds and there was no nest in sight. And what they told me is that. And she said, I've been fighting with my adult son for 6 months. Another woman told me she was having a picnic with friends and birds only pooped on her and her stuff. So I said, what kind of crap have you been believing? She just stops, right? When our animals, and this is going on a lot now in the last 6 months, I can't tell you how many people have come to me where their animals have started demonstrating very wonky behavior. And it's because humans are starting to become aware of their own issues. They've been pushing trauma down. All of a sudden, you've got 3 cats urinating on everything. One of them has been traumatized forever, and the other 2 are trying to chase the trauma away. How do you interpret that? Are you trying to chase trauma away that you are not looking at? And the response from the woman was like, oh my goodness, both my husband and I have had major traumas in the last 3 years. I know I need some help. This is happening all the time. A horse acting out, cannot get calm. And you always have to say, do you feel safe? Or the horse would say, my safety was taken away when they took that horse away. And the woman said, my mother was murdered when I was 4. So there's a lot of that going on with our companion animals. In the last 6 months, I've seen my work change where the animals are stepping forward, our companion animals, and showing us what needs healing. And they don't say it from judgment. It's like a duck told me. It's like there's a broken beam in the roof, in the ceiling that needs repairing in order to create wholeness, the goal. So I've never had a client flip out at what their animal said because it never cuts them apart. It never cuts them down.
I had an interesting experience. Part of the work I do, I'm a trance medium also. And about a month or so ago, one of the contacts that I channeled was speaking to my facilitator and mentioned, this is the short version, watch the whales. The whales are going to lead in the new world. They didn't extrapolate on that. And this interview today, this is about you, not about me and my stuff. But I wanted to share that with you because she did ask why. And they said that they were gathering to share information together and to adjust or readjust or do something. I can't quite remember what was said. It's in a recording, but and then of course on Facebook you see all this stuff about the whales have done this and there's this species that's just been found that everybody thought was well and truly dead and gone. So do you have any feelings towards that, Sandra?
I know they've been gathering off the coast of South Africa, maybe Australia, and California. And what I heard, not myself, but someone said something shifted in, believe it or not, in the UK. It was a timeline or like, it's humbling. That's why I could never be cocky because right here, there's all this universal stuff, and this person gets this, and this one gets that, and this one is working on ley lines, and this one is, the poles are shifting, and I'm like, oh, don't forget A3I Atlas and planetary stuff. There's so much. And honestly, years ago, someone said, can you tune into the sharks off Greenland? I understand they can live like 400, 500 years. I'm like, nope, I can't. And then a year and a half later, I was on the phone with my friend, and behind my eyes, I saw these like ancient sharks. I gotta go. And I wish it was like that with everything, but I still feel like drop in the bucket is what I'm getting. Yeah. And they did come through and they said, the reason we live so long is we are not of this earth. We are powered by light, if you will. They're light beings. I don't look it, but they are here to help. Why? Because of the ocean warming and pollution and war and sonic booms and the stuff that humans have done that kind of creates imbalance, illness, death in the oceans. And they said no one goes without health.
No.
So they were like beings doing good work in the guise of an ancient shark.
Speaking of sharks, we've got some strange things going on in our oceans here. We've got gatherings of sharks coming really in very close and not seen before. Mostly bull sharks are coming, like pods, I guess you call them pods of between 6 and 10 and 12 sharks, all coming right in, almost up to your knees. And they're just trying to get our attention. And I feel very strongly that they're trying to, there's almost a sense of urgency about what's going on in the oceans. They're trying to relay that, convey that. But of course, the majority of people are still in that waking up stage, still very much unaware.
Like when the elephants in Asia, right? Between 2020 and 2021, they marched for 17 months or 13 months, one or the other, 1,700 kilometers across China into the big cities in the Yunnan province. And what they told me at the time, the scientists were like, oh, their leader made a wrong turn. They were totally wrong at the time. But China's such a dichotomy because in the center of China, they're saving hundreds of thousands of acres and protecting endangered species. And then in the cities, you have massive pollution and greed and tech and right. And what they said is they make such a big deal about holidays when every day should be a holy day. Will they know what we're trying to communicate? And then they let it go. They turned around, they went home, they said they let go of the result. And I can tell you, because one of my readers told me, and I looked it up, China made enormous changes in their conservation policy. They opened 11 nature parks, like all kinds of things with the elephants, food supply, protecting land. So were the elephants successful? Without ever uttering a word? I would say so. And people blame the animals, but I absolutely believe what you're saying. They've been coming through and doing extraordinary acts to get our attention for years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, you've communicated with more than 100 species, so many. I couldn't even begin to really touch the sides of it. But I wanted to ask you, what surprises you most about the consistent wisdom or the themes that animals share across a vast range of beings?
I believe a leopard set me straight very recently and said, do not attribute the wisdom to us. We are all channels for source, just like you humans can be. So, remember, it has to come through that soul at whatever level of evolution it's at. So the messages you're going to hear could be very different from this horse to that horse, from this whatever cat to that cat. But they can all tap into the oversoul of their species, where the wisdom is retained. So yes, I have heard incredibly wise things from a gecko, from a blue whale, from my ferrets, the big light workers, like the elephants told me. I asked them something. The gorilla said this, and if you get news from the web of life, he said, we're usually the ones making the news. So I asked him all these questions. He said, if we knew everything, we wouldn't be here. But elephants, horses, whales do massive amounts of energy work on and off the planet.
It must be very challenging for them right now, as it is for us, because they're the ones that are the way showers, I believe. I think we humans are muddling around completely lost, to be honest. That's what I feel. And that's not for every single human being, by the way. I'm just talking about the general consensus, but it's a very difficult time for us because we are starting to wake up. People are in massive numbers actually starting to ask about, what is my animal thinking? Or I want to know what my animal's thinking. Or I think that I actually did pick something up, but I'm not 100% sure. They're questioning. They're beginning to ask the right questions. And as you pointed out earlier, Our Western culture has taught us that we have the dominion over the animals, which has been very wrongly misconstrued about ownership, that we have dominion equals ownership. No, dominion is caretaking this planet for them. And I find it intriguing that people can't understand or wrap their head around this is their planet too. They are here to learn, to grow, to share, to love, to expand, to teach, as we are as well. We are all one. But I wanted to ask you something about, let's move a little bit more now towards the domestic animals. So when you connect with an animal on behalf of their human, what typically creates that transformative shift for the person or for the animal?
Being heard. We begin a conversation and let's say, can you tell me more about why you're doing this and why you're doing that? What's so transformational is that the humans have been so inaccurate in their interpretation of why their animals are doing something. So when the animal can finally be heard and explain, this cat's not acting like a leader and she was the first one here, and things that people don't consider, then there's an instant change in the animal's behavior. People where they wanted, this was years ago, they wanted me to run my practice totally based on provable
Evidence.
results.
Yeah.
Evidential. Yeah. Why did I just
Yeah.
forget that? It's so right on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
But what has happened is that has evolved. So in other words, the dog, there was an agility competitor, and then her human, a woman, had 2 knee replacements and a hip replacement. And this dog became so aggressive, she couldn't even take her dog for a walk. And I had a long chat with Lola, who got it out. Not only thinking she had to protect her human, but when her human throws herself under the bus and doesn't stand up for herself, and she got it out. And I said, she's safe now. Like, we had a dialogue. She's got new knees. She is safe. A week later, I got an email from the woman. She took her back to the agility competitions and she was perfect.
Wow.
Or in the case of these 2 animals, these 3 cats, right? And I tuned into one of them. He immediately stopped, like same day, stopped chasing the cat that he would not stop chasing. When sometimes you have to reframe their world. If they think they're supposed to chase, and you would say, wait, what would really make your human happy is for you to be the protector of these cats, if you have a dog or whatever. They want to please, they want you to be happy, but we humans go about it all in the wrong way. We yell, we get no, don't, can't, should, and won't. We don't hold a picture in our mind of what we would like and say reassuringly, you've got this. Come sit with me. Ninny nanny, we do infantilize them. We put ourselves above and we say good boy and good girl instead of thank you. And these are like solid, a couple of things for people to get started to shift their relationship with their companion animal. Shift yourself from good boy, good girl to thank you. And start noticing their qualities the way you would know. Pay attention. Their patience, their sense of humor, their problem solving, their compassion, their acceptance, what are their sense of humor. It changes the dynamic between you. And the more we start entering their world that way, holding pictures in our mind is one of the ways they communicate. Instead of go press those buttons and hit English speaking words so I can understand what you want to say. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just repeating the dynamic of, okay, you could communicate in a way that I can understand because I'm the human. Instead of maybe I can meet you in your world.
Yeah.
And the animals respond like you would not believe.
Yeah.
They will prove to you that I got you. I have people do the squirrel experiment. If there are squirrels where you live and you see them, I used to leave little piles of chopped almonds because I wanted to have a little regular crew and they were at least used to seeing me. So I would see one on a tree and I would say with my mind, not my mouth, good morning. It's lovely to see you. I hope you have a beautiful day. And the squirrels will go, huh? And they're like, oh my God, So the first evidence we get is they hear us. It starts with that.
Yeah.
When I edge people in, you may use your eyes and see an animal do something and then get a feeling, right? It's not like you're going to wipe out your five senses. They're very important. Animals use the five senses and the sixth sense at the same time. They're not your enemies. However, closing your eyes is really powerful, especially if you're in the presence of an animal that you find scary or ugly. I did this with a palmetto bug, which is a very large cockroach, like that, very large. It was on the wall, and I just closed my eyes to see what I felt instead of responding to that revulsion response. I felt the calm that I don't feel when I'm by myself.
Wow.
And from that place, I had a wonderful conversation with this palmetto bug that was really eye-opening. But we have to close our eyes to stop our ingrained behaviors and feel.
I think also when an animal presents in an unusual situation, an animal that you've never seen before or rarely see around, I have an umbrella outside that opens up. It's one of those big cantilever things. And my 3 dogs had passed away in 2023 and within days of each other. It was probably the hardest time of my life. And I could not get out of that grief. I was just lost in it and wallowing in it and made it my best friend. And I was in the kitchen one morning and I looked out, and on top of this cantilever umbrella was the biggest kookaburra. And he sat there, right? And I looked at him and I thought, and he's looking at me and I thought, why aren't you laughing? Because that's what kookaburras do. They go, "Ka, ka, ka," and they laugh and they make you laugh because they just do. And he sat there and he would not laugh. He just stared at me and I thought, why? What are you? And I got it. Oh, when was the last time you laughed? Sandra, I burst into tears. I said, not now. But I get it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Anyway, he took off. So he had come to tell me, hey, snap out of it, babe. When was the last time you laughed? And we do have kookaburras. It's Australia. But never had I seen one sitting on top of my cantilever umbrella right outside my window. Never. And I think it'd be beautiful if people would just be a little bit aware of that, a little bit alert to that.
That's step one. Start paying attention. I've been living here since August 1st. I've never had a bird land on the railing. The last 2 days, it was this very fluffy, atypically colored morning dove. Normally they're like gray, and this was almost golden. I have to go get the pen. And there was a message for me that I needed to hear about the sacredness of what they've shared.
Yeah.
That maybe you don't see that this is sacred, what you have, what we've shared with you, and you can carry out to people so perhaps they can see at last.
Yeah.
And I went, maybe I really needed to honor all of this in a bigger way instead of just being in service, to realize it's the sacredness of everything. We have these sandhill cranes that make a racket. They always travel in twos, but they showed up right outside the front door. And I'm like, they know how to find me. I went to the Yukon, there was a squirrel hanging off the roof screaming at me. And wait, I'll get back to the cranes in a minute, but I have to share a story about how animals communicate across the world. I went up to the Yukon to my friend's house, 400 and something acres. She has one cat, a tabby named Bibi. And this cat would fly in the tower, find me, come in, lie on my chest, sleep on my bed, and just make a real point of watching over me. Come home. I move into this place 2 weeks later on a new place. And on the second night, I hear this scratching on the windows. And I open the door, and this tabby cat walks in. And he's the family outdoor cat who nobody can touch because apparently he peed all over their house. Yeah, he walks in as if he'd been here forever. Pops on my bed. I'm like, I'm going to go with this. A couple of days. Finally, I said, why are you here? He said, you need a guardian. I'm more than happy to oblige. I said, who told you that? He said, she did. And the big cat, the oversoul of cats. That was not like they're going to give me, was cat would be in the Yukon, 6,600 miles away, but I knew what he was talking about. And this, I've seen this happen. We have to suspend our disbelief that animals communicate via the web of life, that there is no separation. I've had an experience communicating with animals all over the world, like elephants in South Africa. But to see it, to see like this tangible result of this cat that showed up, and he was just scratching while we were talking. He's still watching over me. And by the way, he has never peed in this house.
Wow.
I was like, what a gift.
It is a gift, and they help us in every way. They help us. We're just so unaware of it. We're always looking at the ground or thinking about that problem that we've got today or something we didn't sort through yesterday. That monkey mind, we have forgotten how to just be still, to just stop and just be still. Little quick share. I had a crocodile come to me in a dream, and it was a really eerie, murky kind of place. And it came up to me, and the message that I got was, be careful. Now, I woke up and I thought, ew, why am I going to get attacked by a crocodile? Oh, this is my human conscious brain. Ugh. Within days, this was in 2005, Sandra, within days, my business partner, who was also my solicitor, had defrauded me of all my money.
The crocodile.
Within days, and she had come to tell me, be careful, because she's the protector, the mother guardian.
Wow.
And I misconstrued, because back then I wasn't doing any of this work, and I just immediately went into what I was taught as a human. Crocodiles are dangerous. Be careful, this crocodile you might encounter it, because where I live, they're everywhere. Like you in Florida with the alligators, we got crocs everywhere. And this crocodile was giving me a warning that an event was about to happen, and it certainly did within days. And then I put two and two together. And at the same time, my little home office, outside was a fence, and on top of this fence was this massive olive python that would sit there every time that I was working in my office. This python would just sit there and watch me. You know how they sort of just watched me every day. And I thought, wow, that's really super interesting. And to this day, I didn't know why that snake was there. But it was a really unusual period of time. And that event actually happened. And I thought, gosh, in hindsight, I wish I had have known then what I know now, because I would have at least had a heads up. And the animals come to us.
Sent to watch over you. When you need protection, you have, right, a snake, a crocodile in your dream. And that's why if we can leave people with only one conclusion that they may not want to hear, is we want to know what's right, what's wrong. Give me the answer. What does this animal mean? Pay attention, watch their behavior, watch your companion animals. When there is dark energy in your house, whether it's from a person you know or it doesn't matter, your animal all of a sudden only walk the perimeter of the bed, or your animal will show you. I think, right? There's two horses here that are boarded. They don't have any responsibilities. They get fed twice a day and humans leave. So they're always calm. But a week and a half ago, one of them was frantic, running up and down, very agitated, running along the paddock fence, tail up, ears up, snorting, and then stopping and staring just in one direction. And I said, okay, something's here. Nobody was watching. I had no idea what I was doing. I put my arms up. I put on the whole animal kingdom, God's angels, the all. And I saw in my mind a tidal wave. That was literally because they scare me. Push me, everything off this 5-acre property. Maybe I was doing it 10 minutes or something, and I turn around and he was facing like there's more of that way. Okay. I then imagined a huge wall of fire around the entire property so that anybody that came in would be cleansed by the fire. I turned around. He had gone back to his favorite tree and he was grazing Tahoe. And I just went, you did it. The horse showed you. That's
Yeah.
the way they showed you when there was funky energy here the other night. And after you did your saging with the cleanse and purify and facing four directions with real intention, cat came up from under the chair, jumped up on the bed, love enough on me, fell asleep happily on a pillow. Our animals will always show us if we
Yeah.
pay attention. And it gives you a really good power, right? There's your
Yeah.
validation that you can move energy
Yeah.
and that your light is strong enough to move dark out.
Yeah.
Like saying once in a while we may need some additional help, but we're so quick to run. If we're even in touch with energy, we immediately look for a professional, right? Before we even try on our
Yeah.
own because we're disempowered. We don't think.
I was just going to say that one of the things that I find beautiful about connecting with the animals and being so open to them is that we suddenly realize we're not who we think we thought we were either. We're not who we thought we were. We're so much more than that. And they show us that. And that kind of leads me into my final question for you, which is, Sandra, for those wanting to develop their own multisensory skills, or I know the phrase animal communication is so limiting, really, but I think a lot of people understand it, that they can understand that phrase. So what is the single most important practice or mindset that helps them to begin truly hearing or feeling animals and the natural world more clearly? Because not everybody is clairaudient like.
Claircognizance, that knowing without knowing why, is probably the most widely used clairability.
Yeah.
And there's clairvoyance where your eyes are closed and pictures and stuff. So the number one, the most important thing is not to expect it to look a certain way. Like watching the Dr. Dolittle movies, like Eddie Murphy, you think you're going to walk down the street and you're all going to be yelling at you. It doesn't work that way. The most important thing is to start experiencing yourself as an energy being, clearing your energy. Because look, this is what animals do. There are old ways responding to and interacting with energy amongst themselves, in the land, or humans. They see energy flying in and out, spirits out of the body. So if you want to enter their world, start paying attention. How do you feel when you move from place to place? Start tuning in. Does anything constrict? Or do I feel like anytime I walk into a barn, I would feel like a jelly donut? Their energy was so good, I would just look at it. Right? And then start noticing how you feel from place to place. You can use Insight Timer, which is a free app. There's tons of free apps too. If you don't know how to clear your energies, as simple as bringing light in, either from 360 degrees or to the top of your head. I'm not using any spiritual terminology. And bringing that light out of you, down through your body and out through your feet, taking everything with it that does not belong. Stuck emotions, stinking thinking, just ickiness, heaviness, anxiety, whatever. Doing this first thing in the morning and maybe right before you go to bed, it's a matter of minutes. You are getting the junk out of the way. Number one. Too much noise you can't hear or receive. And then the rest of it is being with animals, observing with no agenda. Just watch, meditate around them. But when you just start watching, you may get a hit. That's first rate. Get a journal, because you're going to discount what you get. That's what we do. I made it up. But if you write it down, and I heard this from horses and my dog, and then you look at it a few days later, and you'll say, oh my goodness, that wasn't me. When it first happens, it may not feel like anything, but you look at it a few days later and you're going to see patterns emerge. And you're going to realize, okay, I've felt that. I've heard that. Okay. So it's really experiencing energy, observing your animals with no agenda. Start seeing them as equals. Thank you. Noticing their qualities and writing down. And you get it's like the whispers. It's not a loud voice. That's how your player abilities show up. They show up as punches and whispers and quiet.
And trust it.
They have the loud world of the mind.
Yeah.
The opposite. No. Just write it. Between you and you, no one's judging you.
Yeah. And just trust what you get too. Like you've got to suspend your belief system. So just suspend it. Just leave it at the door, as they say. Leave it at the door and just walk into that world of trust and openness. Because we did as children. We just trusted that everything was as it should be and that everything was perfect. And then we became adults and
to go outside. The kid did not question itself. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I made it up.
yeah.
That should be a 4-letter word instead of a 5-letter word because it's the biggest stumbling block.
Yeah. Now, Sandra, when you teach people, can you teach on Zoom or is it all in person?
No, I just did my first Zoom series that this coming Saturday wraps up. It's a 4 or 5 class series. The 5th class is strictly about horses. So this particular group, I didn't do that, but I'd say 2-hour class every 2 weeks so that they have a questionnaire, they can interact with it, they can practice and integrate what's going on. And now that I'm reaching the end of the series, when I've asked people what they want, so far 12 people have said, we'd love to do a monthly class, either share stories, ask good questions, or have a theme to work on over the month. And that made me really happy because the fact is that you've been on this planet for 5 decades, 6 decades. Now, you're learning how to get in there and access things you haven't been made aware of. But also it's fun to I ask people in my 3rd class of the 4, have you had this experience, that one? And then and this one, and they were raising their hands. I said, you were using your player already.
Right.
They just don't. Right. Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun to watch people and to hear their stories and
see how it's going.
I'm going to do another Zoom series next.
That's perfect. And I think a good lead-in for anybody that's listening is I highly recommend that you read one of Sandra's books, get an idea of the incredible work that Sandra does. It's just truly phenomenal. I can't speak highly enough of the work. that you do, Sandra. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you, there's lots of ways to do it. I see you're on Facebook.
Sandra.Mendelson, or my other page is We Walk Beside You.
We Walk Beside You.
Business page works. Sometimes it's not great. I also have a website, SandraMendelson.com.
Yeah.
I do some stuff on Instagram. I got to get up to speed more on the videos.
Oh, look, you know what? When you're busy doing the work, the whole social media side of things is just ick. We have to let people know we're alive. So for everyone that's listening, please do get hold of one of Sandra's books, have a read, and that will be a foray into what she teaches and how she teaches. Sandra, is there one piece of advice? I always ask my guests, if you could give one piece of advice, just one message to the world right now, and I'm going to give you a moment here because I've got a very strong feeling you're going to be channeling this, what would it be?
The animal world is our 5D playing field. It is waiting for us to step onto the field and play. And that means believing that all of this is real. That's the reason for those books because I believe it will. It has been shifting people. It opens a window to what we had no idea existed. The richness of their wisdom and the details of their lives and their relationships. It's still like magic to me. And what they know. I mean, I just recently finally went to South Africa, and what the wild animals told me for the guides blew my mind about their intention. And one of the guides, the film of a male lion mating, and he put this like ha 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 music. Lions are very serious. They said mating and hunting are serious business. We hide it all from you, but we let you see everything to enter into our world. Do not mock us. This is no joke. You are not guides, you are teachers. And all the animals were very deliberate on this huge game there about the trust. They didn't even move when the loud jeeps were turning the engines on and off. This was deliberate. So maybe, if nothing else, people understand this is not instinct. These are deliberate choices that animals are making to come to us, to show up for us now. I was in Canada, hundreds of thousands of acres. Why? The moose and the elk and the caribou cluster where humans are. They're herbivores. They don't need food from us, knowing that they may be stopped because they do some very respectful hunting there. They are trying to bridge the gap with us. So we experience them as that we're all one family. So that's what I would say to people. I hope they read the books because it really does. I had no idea about any of this. It is just magical to discover all these things. Their wisdom, what they know about humans. But that changes
Everything. Yeah. Sandra Mendelson, thank you so much for being my very special guest today. It's been an absolute honour.
Feeling is me as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here and tuning into Enlightened Connections. I truly hope today's episode offered you something to reflect on, expand into, or feel more deeply connected to, whether within yourself or with the animals and spirit world around you. If you enjoyed this conversation, please follow or subscribe to the show and share it with someone you feel may benefit from it as well. It's one of the most supportive ways you can help this podcast reach more hearts, more homes, and more animal lovers. And if you'd like to stay connected in between episodes, come join me inside the Enlightened Connections podcast Facebook community. I'd absolutely love to have you there. Until next time, take gentle care, stay connected, and trust the whispers.